Terrence Gangster Williams, aka OG Diggity. I'm hanging out with the big homie Hankin TV. Make sure y'all subscribe, support the brother. We out here doing big things. It's all good, baby. Y'all see we free. We out here enjoying life. I want y'all to stop the violence, say no to drugs, and put these guns down. I'm out, baby. Gotta go.
This is a certified hood classic.
I used to be in my feelings, then I turned up and got a spot. I can't say how much I made in that bitch, I just know it was a lot. I don't care no more if she love me for real, long as she love my knot. They say, you hitting them with too much drip. I know I got a mop. I put my flow in the microwave, I know I gotta blow, now it's hot. I was way too far ahead of my time, I had to slow down and stop. Before I pull up to the honeycomb, I got to go round the block. Looking in blind spots for any nigga think he on the low trying to plot. Go ahead.
Y'all make sure y'all go subscribe to Hankin TV, man. You feel what I'm saying? That's my boy. He put dope content over there.
Then show your fucking dirt.
Turn me up a little bit more. Yeah. I don't know why, but it's midnight and I'm in the house with all my chains on. Just feel like that. Yeah. Dirty money bought my school clothes. Dirty money bought me J's. Dirty money bought my Ralph Lowe. Growing up, I was kind of broke. Mommy on welfare, oven open when the house cold. Dirty money, daddy had the dirty money. Honestly, I barely ever seen some working money. Seemed like we was always struggling and needing something. Dirty money, only thing that ever got it for me. Mall trips was a spending limit. Dirty money come fast, can't hide it, so you gotta spend it. At my house, it's kinda different. Flat broke with a note at Main Mark, trying to borrow dinner. Dirty money bought him everything a kid would notice. Had me riding presidential before I ever voted. I smoked exotic before I ever smoked it. I seen the money before I knew I wanted. Dirty money, clean money, dirty. Dirty money, what's clean money? Huh? Dirty money, clean money. Yeah. Dirty money, what's clean money? Dirty. Dirty money, clean money. Yeah. Dirty money, what's clean money? Huh? Dirty money, clean money. Bruh. Dirty money, what's clean money? Yeah. Dirty money took us out of town. Dirty money took us skating. I kept falling down. Captain Bogey's dirty money ran us through a bag. Dirty money, 20 kids at the laser tag. Growing up, I never thought about it till I'm in JC Penney trying to find a way to go without it. That dirty money never lasts long. Dirty money turn to nothing when your dad gone. No more shopping, now you watch your niggas do the most. Back to regular, but you was never regular though. That's when I seen it with my own eyes. That dirty money get you clean time. Dirty money, clean money. Damn, dirty money turn to clean money. Got some dirty money, clean your money. Yeah, clean money turn to dream money. Feel me? Like I said, it's midnight. I'm in the house with all my chains on, about to pour me another drink. Don't know why I feel like this. Yeah. Don't just look, nigga, learn. Pay attention. Pussy. West side. It's Giddy.
What's up with this? Your boy JT. If I say I done it, I did it. I want to thank y'all for tuning in to Hankin TV tonight. Tonight I'm bringing y'all something sweet. I'm bringing y'all the owner of Dvine Sweets.
If you can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
My name is April, and as he just mentioned, I am the owner of Dvine Sweets.
I'll say, okay, can you tell everybody what Dvine Sweets is?
So Dvine Sweets is a baking business, and we specialize in custom cakes, sweets, and treats, as well as wedding cakes for all of your occasions.
So is it just local or do you ship?
I ship as well. I mean, I haven't necessarily had many shipping orders except one, but yes, we do offer shipping as well as we do travel as well for a fee, extra
Okay.
fee.
So where are you? Where you from?
I am from Centerville, Ohio, and I currently reside in Columbus, but are planning to relocate soon.
So you grew up in Centerville.
Yes.
So tell the people how it was growing up in Centerville.
Growing up in Centerville was great. Everybody, it was like a big community, a big family. I'm sure, and from what I heard years ago, things have changed now. But back then, around that time when I was growing up, it was good. It was a good school system, good neighborhood. Whenever my mom allowed us to go outside with our friends, it was a safe environment. We just was playing outside like regular kids, not on these phones like nowadays.
Right.
So,
So for the people who don't know, Centerville is like a suburb of Dayton. So that's where
correct.
that's where Centerville is located. And you're also a poet as well, right?
Yes, I am. I was published when I was in, I think, elementary or middle school. I got published in a poetry book years ago. I mean, I'm not that old, but it was a while ago. So, yes.
So how did you get into poetry?
I think I'm not sure how, but I think it kind of came from like I used to. This is so crazy, and nobody believes me when I say this, but like I used to be a rapper, a female rapper in a girls group. It was like my best friend, one of my best friends was the other rapper, and her sister was a singer, and so it kind of like, well, I think I would before we did the rap group. I don't know. I just had a love for like writing poetry. Like, and I think it was in fifth grade. My teacher, her name starts with the R. She was a Spanish teacher, or she was a Spanish lady, and she used to have us, write poetry in school, and so I just really was good at it. I really enjoyed it, and it just went on from there. Like I got published in my first poetry book. And then like my mom, knew that I was good at it. And from me getting published in the poetry book. And then she would always hear about like other contests that they had where you could win money, like first and second place and stuff like that. And she would like, tell me to enter into these contests and stuff. So yeah, I love it. And I'm not consistent at it now that I'm an adult, but it still is always near and dear to my heart. I'm still good with the pen. So
So I'm not too familiar with poetry. So like, is it different genres of poetry?
yes, there is different genre styles of poetry. Yes. I
Okay, so
mean, I would, you honestly, a lot of people, sometimes I believe, the late great Tupac may have described it as like rap. Poetry is kind of like in rap form, like you're expressing, feelings or expressing things, except for when you're saying it in a poetry form, it is kind of like you're talking versus rapping is more of, I don't know. It's more or more up to speed, I would say. And then you obviously have a beat to it. Sometimes where poetry, sometimes it's quiet, and nobody else is saying anything, and you're just kind of like reading or reading what you wrote on paper. Versus rap, I think sometimes they freestyle or it's in their head and it just comes out or whatever. But yes, and it you rhyme in poetry, you rhyme in rap, and yeah.
so what genre would you consider your poetry?
Oh, listen, I don't even remember the genres. Um,
I mean, it's like happy, sad, creepy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would consider mine like very deep, like more so toward like relationships or feelings and stuff like that. Yeah.
So you also said you was about to on the route to become the published author. So is that going to be a poetry book?
No, it is not a poetry book, unfortunately. Like I said, I did that, back when I was younger. This book that I've been writing, I wrote that book, or I started writing that book during my time of incarceration back in 2015. And I just had a lot of people that some people that knew about my story, my situation, but I try to sometimes, or at a point in time in my life, I was always very private, and I always like kept things to myself. So people were like, you got a story, you've been through a lot or whatever, like your story can help people. And it just, I just kept thinking about that, and people just kept telling me like, write that book. And when you're in a prison cell, you sometimes don't really have much to do, so I just wrote, and I wrote a lot. And in the process of having someone edit it and hopefully getting it published within the next year or two, or even sooner than that.
Right. So are you going to self-publish it?
Yes, I am.
That's kind of how I wrote my book too, being incarcerated, because like you say, you don't really have much to do, have a lot of time, nothing to do but write. So how long were you incarcerated?
I did 4 years.
And what was you incarcerated for?
So I was in a relationship with a guy, and I guess just got caught up. He asked me to do some things. I did it because I was trying to be down. And, I had a misconception of what love really was. I thought that love was doing for a person. The more you do for a man, the more he's going to love you more. That's what I thought love was. And so I did, whatever he had asked. And just so happened, I was trafficking drugs on the highway and got pulled over. And I got locked up, was sentenced to 4 years in prison for it.
So you was locked up in Ohio?
Yes, I was locked up in Marysville.
Okay, so coming from Centerville, like I was telling everybody, Centerville is like a suburb of Dayton. So
Yeah.
coming from Centerville, how was it for you being locked up, going through that process?
Woo, it was terrible at first, just because, like, coming from how I was raised, from Centerville, and my grandfather is a pastor and had a church in Dayton, and just my overall background, like I grew up on morals and values, and I feel like I was raised me and my siblings were raised pretty good. And I never thought in a million years that I would ever go to prison. I wasn't that type of person. It was just me, obviously thinking I wasn't gonna get caught, and me just wanting to do this for this guy that I loved and thought that loved me. And so it was a culture shock. I mean, being in a situation where there's women from all walks of life, and I consider myself like a OCD, like clean freak type of person. So it was terrible for me at first, just because everybody lives differently, and some people have, to be honest, some people have no home training. And so just being in them type of situations where like you have to be told when to wake up, when to go to bed, when to use the bathroom, and if you got a bunkie that's dirty, like you can't really do much about it. But then like I knew that if I did my whole time worrying about that or whatever, then it was going to make me miserable. I was going to lose my mind. And so, I took it. I just had to, figure it out. But then I ended up getting moved to a reintegration program, as they say in there. And it was a 2-man cell. So I was no longer in an open dorm full of a bunch of women that, I had to deal with. But the 2-man cell, you only got to deal with one person and share a bathroom with one person. And, we had like, a list of rules. You couldn't just be in the honor, it's like an honor dorm / reintegration dorm, and you couldn't be lazy and sloppy and dirty in there. We had to clean. We had to do community service work by like knitting and crocheting. So it got better once I got moved to a 2-man cell and was in like an honor dorm where they made sure you had to follow, you know, set a high standard of rules and stuff like that. So it did get better. So,
Right.
but.
So how many trips did you make before you end up getting caught?
Look, am I gonna go to jail?
Now you ain't gonna go to jail. I ain't gonna ask you nothing. I ain't gonna ask you nothing too policey, but you know it's behind you.
No, I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, no, I'm gonna be honest. I made 2 trips. So
by you not being raised and coming from that environment, I mean, what was going through your head? Was you scared?
I was the type of person that thought I had things figured out. Like I got like before I picked up, you know, the package, I got the rundown. Like, you gonna do XYZ. And so in my mind, I'm like, I got this. I got my license. I got my insurance. If I get pulled over, I know what to say. Like, I got this. In my mind, that's what I was thinking. I'm like, I ain't about to listen. You know, you telling me what to tell the police. I got this. So I thought that I had it. Like, all I needed to do was show them my license and my insurance. If they do pull me over, I'm legit, so I'm good. That's how I was looking at it and thinking about it from that perspective. But, you know, cops or whatever are dirty and they do what they want to do. I'm gonna just be real. So, you know, I mean, I thought that, you know, I wasn't gonna get caught, and I just thought that I, you know, had never been to prison before. So I thought if I did get caught, well, for one, I thought if I did get caught, they were gonna let me go because I had my license and insurance. You know, if they gonna pull me over for a ticket or something like that, okay, you know. Or I was also thinking that I, you know, had it under control, and I didn't think that I was gonna get caught, and I just wanted to be down for this particular guy.
So being in prison, is that where you grew your love for baking at?
No, my love for baking has kind of been I've had that love for since I was like, I would say, a teenager. You know, growing up, like my mom and my grandparents, or my grandma in particular, she always made like pretty much everything from scratch. And so I mean, you know, the savory meals to the desserts and stuff like that, everything was made from scratch, like, you know, fresh ingredients and stuff. And so it kind of ran in the family. And then I used to bake for different family events and things like that. You know, if we had like Thanksgiving dinner or different stuff. And then my kid's aunt on their dad's side, she had a nonprofit girls youth group, and I would bake desserts and stuff for the young ladies after, you know, their youth group so they can have some refreshments. And that's where, you know, I started to get more and more passionate about it. But however, you know, God or whatever, he does things in such mind-blowing ways that, you know, when during my time of incarceration, like, yes, I hated the fact that I was put in that situation and hated the fact that I made the choice that I made. But at the same time, like they say, what the devil means for your evil, God always turns things around for your good. Because when I did that 4 years in prison, the 3 out of the 4 years I was in prison, they had college classes that you could take in prison, different college classes. And I took culinary arts and baking. So I have so many different certificates. I learned a lot, and it kind of enhanced my skills a little bit more. So, you know, my prison time wasn't in vain. That's what I'll say.
Right. So walk us through when you got pulled over.
Well, I was on my way down to the location of where the drop was supposed to go, and I like look over to I'm making sure I'm doing the speed limit, you know, I'm doing everything right, and I look over to my right and I see a state trooper parked, you know, off on the side of the highway or whatever, and I didn't think nothing of it because, you know, I'm like, okay, they usually be sometimes out there patrolling, police, whatever. And so I just kept driving. And as I'm driving, there's a black vehicle in front of me. and they're speeding, swerving in and out of traffic. And so I'm like, okay. And then I look in my mirror, my rear view mirror, and I'm like, I see the state trooper, and like lights flashing. And so I'm thinking that they're after this black car that's speeding, swerving in and out of traffic. But then they get behind me, they get closer to me, and they stay behind me. So I'm like, okay, they must be pulling me over. But I'm like, what have I done? So I pull over, and as soon as I pulled over, the officer got out the car, and he tells me or whatever, like, ma'am, why I pulled you over? And I told him, I said, no, why'd you pull me over? And he was like, because you were speeding. And I chuckled, and I'm like, no, I wasn't speeding. And so he's like, well, do you have your license and insurance? I'm like, yeah. So I give that to him. But then he questions me, and he says, well, what are you doing out here, in this city? And I'm like, it was the day after Thanksgiving. I mean, he's like, what are you doing out here? And I'm like, it's the day after Thanksgiving. My best friend lives out here, and I couldn't spend Thanksgiving with her because I spent it with my family. So I'm coming to visit her. And, he goes on to tell me that, oh, well, people from Dayton, because at the time I was living in Dayton, and he obviously must have seen my plates. And so he's like, oh, well, people from Dayton, Columbus, and Detroit traffic drugs up and down this highway all the time. And I'm like, okay. So I'm like, if I'm speeding or whatever, I'm thinking like he's going to run my driver's license and make sure everything is legit. But he's telling me, like it's a crime for me to be out in this city because people, And so he goes and runs, he takes my ID to his vehicle, and then another state trooper pulled up, and he's like standing out in front of my door, and I'm just sitting in there, and my stomach was like, I felt like I needed to scratch my stomach. And so I start scratching the side of my stomach, and he making it seem, he started going crazy, like, get out the car right now. And I'm thinking like, what? Like he thought I was grabbing a gun. I don't know what. I was like, I'm just scratching my stomach. And so I think it was just all like a ploy and tactic just to get me out of the car or whatever. Now that I think back on, that whole scenario. But I got out of the vehicle as I was told. And, they patted me down. They, frisked, they were touching all on my breast and in between my, private parts and my butt and stuff like that, trying to find something, I'm assuming. And then they put me in the back of the police cruiser, and they had a dog search the car, and the dog didn't find anything. And so they threatened me, stating that if they found, they're going to take me to the hospital and have me medically examined and put something in me, because I guess they must have thought it was inside of me. And which it was, but and so they were like, and if we find it at the hospital, if the hospital finds it and pulls it out, then you're going to be charged with an extra charge. And so I got nervous, and I slipped the handcuffs off of me. I was able to wiggle myself out of my handcuffs, and I pulled it out of me, and I hid it in the back of their car, and they pulled me out of one police vehicle to the next one, and they found it, and I was locked up.
So was you in the county jail the whole time, or was you out on bond until you got sent to prison?
I did probably like a couple weeks in the county jail, and then I got bonded out. And I was working and back to my regular life. And so I would call like once every week and check to see if they had indicted me on the charges. And so every time I would call, they would tell me, oh, there's no court date. There's no court date. And so like 6 months had went by, I think maybe 6 or 7 months had went by. And I just got tired or like probably about 5 months went by. And I just got tired of calling. So I stopped calling to check to see if there was a court date yet. And people were telling me like, oh, they have a certain time frame to charge you, to indict you. If they don't, then they, it's going to be dropped or whatever. So I'm like, okay, I'm not really worried about it. And then all of a sudden, I think I called them again in May, to check to see, you know, if I had a court date. And they were like, you have a warrant out for your arrest. And I'm like, how is that? I said, I've been calling, you know, checking to see if I had a court date. And then you guys said that I wasn't indicted when I was calling. Nobody could tell me that there was a court date. And so they were like, I said, so what do I need to do? And they were like, they told me I had to write a letter to the judge saying why I didn't show up for court and whatever. And then they eventually, then they told me to come in. And so I came into court and they revoked my bond. And like when I got to the county, one of the corrections officers, he remembered who I was. And he's like, you know, they do that on purpose. He said they do that to take your bond away. Like whatever family member that paid your bond, so they don't get their bond money back. I said, yeah, because then they said that the sheriff came to my door and served me paper. And nope, I hadn't. And if I wasn't home, I'm sure they would have left it on the door. There was nothing on my door. And if it was, it would have had to, you know, maybe the sheriff that was all the way down there, maybe he didn't feel like driving to Dayton or Inglewood at the time where I was staying to serve me my papers. I don't know, but they basically had told a lie that I didn't show up that I was served papers and I never showed up. Which I was never served any papers. And so from that time that I did get locked up, I was sentenced shortly after, maybe like a couple weeks after I had been in the county. And that's when the judge sentenced me to 4 years mandatory.
Right. And the reason I asked you that, because I wanted to ask you, like, as far as being a female, never being in trouble, how was it your first night in the county jail?
That wasn't my first time in the county jail. I had been there I had been I was in the county before or whatever for something else, but that was my first time, like my first prison number. But yeah, I mean, in that particular situation, I was in a whole nother area. I wasn't in, you know, Dayton where I'm from, even though I don't really know too many people in Dayton, but it was in a whole different area, kind of like a small hick town. And it was terrible just because like the area that I was in, a lot of the girls that were in the county with me, they were like, you know, I guess they were, I don't want to be say an offensive term, but I guess they were drug addicts. Sorry, just to put it that way. And so a lot of them were like, I don't know, withdrawing or whatever, the withdrawing or be like sick and stuff like that. And it was majority, you know, Caucasian, the county. But, you know, they were just, you know, we were just talking and they were just telling me how their judges and how their town was. Like, you know, most Black people that come to that area, they get stroked, you know, they don't get a fair chance. And so, and then there was like one or two other African-American women that were there, and some of them were in the same situation as me where they were trafficking drugs. Not sure if it was necessarily behind a man. I know one of them, she was selling drugs on her own recognizance. It wasn't over a man, but yeah, it was terrible because the water was hard. You know, like the food was disgusting. Like I said, I'm OCD and I'm a picky eater. So that place is no place for me. So it was just the food. I went starving without food, like, you know, before I could go to the store, just because of the simple fact that like the food would just look terrible, smelled terrible, looked terrible. So it was terrible all around.
So being a female, never being in no, we're gonna say serious trouble, then how did you feel when you were sentenced to 4 years?
Oh man, I almost passed out. I almost passed out in that courtroom. I felt like really shocked, like, because I was just like, dang, like, it was a lot of emotions that went through my head. And at first, like, I said, I didn't really know at that time. I know a little bit about the law now, just from talking to people and reading when I was incarcerated. But at that time, I didn't know nothing about the law. Like even when I mentioned that the officer had, you know, felt between my private parts and stuff, people were saying like, they're not supposed to do that. Like you could have got the case beat. Like they're supposed to call a female officer and do that. And so, you know, little stuff that I didn't know, but even when they gave me mandatory time, I had to ask the sheriff that was transporting me back to the county jail. I'm like, I said, what is mandatory time? Like, what is he talking about, man? Like, I'm like, so I can't get out early. I'm like, I didn't even know what that, unfortunately, I didn't even know like what, that meant as far as in terms of jail sentencing. So, yeah, there was a lot of emotions that went on. And also, I felt alone because like when I had got locked up the second time, when they revoked my bond, I had tried calling around the different family members, trying to get a lawyer. And it was like, nobody wanted to help get a lawyer except for my sister. She was, trying to, pull everybody in together to get, everybody pitching money. And it was kind of hurtful because I felt like maybe had I had a lawyer, maybe I wouldn't have got the 4 years. But then again, sometimes in life or whatever, it don't matter what, if you got the top paid lawyer, if that's God's plan, then that's God's plan. And so I feel like, if I did have a paid lawyer or not, maybe I would have still got that time. I don't know, but.
Right. Did you cry?
Yeah. Cried many, many days, even in the courtroom. On the way back to the county jail after I got done talking to the sheriff, I just looked out the window and I just stared up into the sky with like my eyes watering. So yeah.
It's crazy how quick something can happen, man. So
Absolutely.
when did you start coming up with like the concept for your business, saying you was want to be a baker?
Well, when I was incarcerated, I would attend, I was a part of Cairo. It was a group called Kairos, where women come in and, they shower you with God's love and they bring, outside food and stuff like that for people that.
You call it agape love. I went to that.
Agape love. Yes.
They fed you good. They feed you good too.
Feed you good, man. I looked so forward to that, like being able. Well, I was eating commissary as well, so that helped or whatever. But even still, commissary is the same old, preserved food or whatever. But they were bringing in all that good stuff. But like I said, I was a part of Kairos, and the lady that was there, I was telling her like what I wanted to do when I came home. And we were thinking of some names, she's like, oh, you want to do a baking business? Like, that would be awesome. Like, I could see you doing that. And she asked me what my name would be. And I'm like, I really don't know right now at the moment. I said, I do want it to start with the D because both of my children's names start with the D. And so does their father. And so I knew I wanted it incorporated with the, that. And so I was reading a Bible scripture. And I kept seeing or whatever the word divine in the Bible scripture. And so then when I went to a Kairos, meeting or once a month where they would come in, the lady had said something about divine. And I felt like that was confirmation just because I kept seeing it while I was reading the word. And then she also said it as well. So I felt like that was confirmation. And so, from then on, I just stuck with that name, but I like being different. And so it's divine without the first I. So just to stand out and just to be different. I know I get a lot of times people be like, oh, she don't know how to spell. I'm like, no, baby, I know how to spell. I was in spelling bees when I was in, middle school and stuff like that, and was winning spelling bees. I'm like, I just wanted to be different and do DVINE instead of the, DIVINE. So
somebody wanted Yo-Yo Swift. She want to know, did you have family support you while you was in jail?
I had some family members that supported me while I was incarcerated. Unfortunately, a lot of the ones that I thought that would be there for me weren't there, and it really hurt, and it made me like have a different outlook on, because at first like when I was in prison, it was teaching me to appreciate family because I was gone away from family. And so I'm like, when I come home, I'm gonna, right my wrongs with people, even though I really wasn't necessarily on bad terms with people in my family, but it was just like I'm going to be more loving. I'm going to be more appreciative of family and spending time, because you never know, if something may happen again, or if you die, they die, whatever. So at first it was kind of making me like be more appreciative of family, but then or whatever, I just started somewhere along the lines, like I just started to have a different outlook or whatever. I think when I came home, maybe that's when it had changed, because some of the same people that weren't there for me, who I thought would be, I tried to give them another chance, because like I said, I wanted to be like that person where I'm like, oh, I'm appreciating family. But then when I came home and certain things that had happened, and then it made me just be like, well, it was a reason why God was showing me there in prison who they truly were, so that when I came home, I shouldn't have dealt with them, but I did.
Right.
And it wasn't before long where he woke me up again. Like, these people can't go with you in your next season of your life. Like, they might be family, but sometimes you gotta cut family off. I mean, and love them from a distance, honestly, because it's like when I was home and people, I was able to be used by family, or when family needed stuff because I was around, it was good and gravy. But then when I'm locked up and can't do nothing for nobody, where is the love? Where is the support? And I wouldn't have even mattered if people, if they weren't there for me, but maybe was there for my kids. That would have been like, that would have made me being like, okay, cool, they was there for my kids. Maybe they financially couldn't have been there for me, but they got my kids, spent time with them. But some of them didn't even do that, and so that's what made me look differently. But yeah, it was some support from my close family, but others, no, unfortunately not. And people took advantage of me too. Like, I had a whole apartment, because like I said, I didn't think that when I went to court I was gonna get locked up when they revoked my bond. I just thought that I had to explain what happened. And when I got incarcerated, family members stole clothes from me, shoes, all types of stuff out my apartment, money. So yeah, to answer that.
You sure them Kairos cookies didn't have nothing to do with you in baking?
The Kairos cookies? No, I've been had a love for baking. I mean, yeah.
So for the people out there who don't know, Kairos is when you incarcerate. I don't know how it is in women's prison, but in men's prison, you got to be doing a certain amount of time, and it's like and they go around to all the prisons in Ohio, like a certain time over the weekend, and it's like a group of church people, and they come in and worship and praise. And one of the things what make people go a lot is because they bring in food from the streets and feed you for the weekend.
Right.
They give the whole institution cookies, and they call them Kairos cookies. And these cookies, I think
so good.
When I did a story time on my birthday, was talking about being incarcerated. I think I talked about the Kairos cookies. Man, the Kairos cookies they divine. They're Dvine Sweets.
They sure are.
So one of the things for the platform is like I like to deal with is like turnaround stories. You know what I'm saying? Like, since it's a story you've been through, because I had been incarcerated and got out and changed my life around. So what are some things you would tell some young females that might be going down the wrong path and maybe doing some things that might lead them to prison?
I would just tell them that, know your self-worth. The love starts from within. If you don't, love yourself and have, self-worth, then it's easy for you to fall for, the type of things that I fell for. And also, we really want to stress and put that out there that we gotta, as women, we gotta stop settling for these men that are out here in these streets, because at the end of the day, it's not, he go down, it's not you just being affected. If you got kids by him, you raising kids on your own. And I feel like maybe some of these men would man up and stop doing those things and get a real job, or, become an entrepreneur, if we're not so easily to settle for that fast money and think that that's cool. Because you getting in relationships with men, you don't know who they beefing with, you don't know who's been watching them, and you get involved and you might go down. And so, like I said, love yourself. If you love yourself, you're not going to settle for anything less than that. Like, I understand we're living in a time today where people are glamorizing everything they see on social media. People are having these false images where their life is just so perfect. They're always posting their highs, but they're never showing you their lows and things that are happening behind closed doors. And they're telling you that they're sleeping with this man and that man for this money. And, oh, if he not, spending this amount of money on me, I'm not dating him and stuff like that. And it's like, if you are a boss woman yourself, you don't need to worry about what some man is doing for you, because you can do that for yourself. So I just want to tell these young girls that, start early, like I try to teach my daughters or whatever, start trying to be figuring out what it is that you want to do in life. And I'm like supporting them. If you want to do this, I'll pay for your classes. You want to be a drawing artist, let's go to the art museum so you can see, or let's take some classes and stuff like that. So it's like I'm trying to bring things out of them at a young age. And I understand kids, their mind changes a lot. They don't necessarily really know what they want to do in life for sure. But as long as I know that I see that they're interested in things, and I'm letting them know I'm being supportive of them, and I'm trying to get them, some money now, whether it's passive income where they don't have to do much, but just teaching these young girls to stop depending on these men and letting them know it is not worth it. Because, baby, at the end of the day, you might think that you slicker than slick, but it's somebody out there that's way more slicker than you. And above all, if the police don't see it, God sees everything. So, like he said, what is it? What's that scripture? Whatever, destruction comes, or whatever. I'm sorry, I can't even remember it. But basically, or whatever, you're gonna get caught. So I thought I was slick. I didn't think I was gonna get caught. Then I thought, oh, I wasn't living that life, and I'm not that type of person. None of that matters. So get yourself together and stop depending on these men. And if these men ask you to do anything that jeopardizes your freedom, cut them off. They don't care nothing about you. Did 4 years, never snitched on a guy, and never heard or seen from him. The whole 4 years I was in prison. So that's what I have to say on that.
So you say you took culinary arts. What are some other things you've done while you was incarcerated to like better yourself or prepare when you get out?
I was involved in a lot of things. Like I said, the honor program that I was in, I learned how to knit. I learned how to crochet, and it was purposeful. Like, we were knitting and crocheting for children that were in foster care, children, the babies that were in the ICU of the hospital, different things like that, like giving back. I was involved in praise dance ministry because I always had a love for dancing. I used to want to be a backup dancer, go on tour and be a backup dancer. Unfortunately, obviously, I never lived that dream, but I ended up going to prison, and I praise dance. So choreographed dances, praise dances. I went to college. I went to school pretty much my whole sentence. I was involved in groups that helps better me as a person. And, mainly just my faith was centered when I was incarcerated. I was just solely focusing on getting my mind right, but also getting my soul right with God when I was there. I mean, that was, yeah.
So let's talk more about your business, Dvine Sweets. So tell us again about the events that you cater to.
I have done a couple different celebrity cake orders. I did my first pop-up shop, I think in 2020, maybe when stuff was still sort of open but wasn't really supposed to be. I guess it was outdoor event though. I have went to different cities and things like that. Done different events. I've done, custom orders, obviously, for people. I've done a wedding dessert table. My baking business has been a good experience early on. I was doing a lot of client orders, as well as being able to travel to different states and try to promote my business and get things out there. So it's taking me some places, and I
So,
hope that it takes me further.
so where you want to see your business in the next 1 to 3 years?
I want to see the next 1 to 3 years. I want to have my own. I want to have my own bakery storefront. Like right now, like I said, I'm doing it out of the comfort of my own home. Just because in 2020, when we were looking for a building, COVID happened, and so we kind of pulled back on things. And then also, like I mentioned, we're trying to move to another state where I have had success at and feel that I could have more success and capitalize on the opportunity that I do have. Just because I just feel like Ohio isn't where I've wanted to be. I've always had goals and wanting to move elsewhere, but I see us having our own storefront. I see us doing great in sales, profiting, continuing to give back to the community like we have always done since we've been in business. Even when we've had our lows in the business, we still were able to give back and bless others because we're blessed, and I know that we'll continue to be blessed even at times when when things are slow. But picking up clients and doing a lot of weddings and just taking off like more greater.
So aside from like custom orders, do you do like cookie orders and cupcake orders and stuff like that where people can order them?
Absolutely. We definitely do that. We do anything, you pretty much any sweets that you can think of, but I kind of like was trying to scale back on like the small things just because I make more money doing cakes, and I make more money if I'm doing wedding cakes and stuff. But like the treats like cupcake, well I still do cupcakes, but like chocolate covered strawberries and homemade candies like Buckeyes and Bear Claws and cake pops and stuff like that. Those type of things are very like time consuming. They take up a lot of time, and you don't profit as much off of that. And so I kind of was trying to focus on the big orders just because with everything going on in today's society. Now, when I have my storefront, absolutely, I want to have pastries every morning for if college students are coming in to use the Wi-Fi, or if regular people are just families are coming in the morning time, or people that's wanting to bring the pastries for their co-workers at work. They want to stop in and get a dozen muffins or something like that. So when I do have my storefront, yes, I definitely want to have all of that, muffins and bear claws and croissants and all of those different types of things. But right now, it's just trying to focus on the cakes and cupcakes where the real money is at. So
you also started on podcasts as well, right?
I did.
And tell us about your podcast.
Look, I don't even really want to speak on that. No, the podcast, I mean, it was something that I had thought of for a couple years now. Just like I mentioned, as an entrepreneur, you don't really see people talk about the lows in their business. You only see the glitz and glamour. And so I feel like now being an entrepreneur has been so glamorized that people are getting in these situations and not knowing what they're doing, or not knowing or whatever, like the behind the scenes part. And so my podcast was kind of like letting people know like the real, because like I said, like we got to be honest with people or whatever. And so I was wanting to interview entrepreneurs who were able to tell you like, hey, it's good being an entrepreneur, but there's also bad in it. And like for me, I before I started my baking business, I had tried starting business before and they failed. But this time I did things the right way. Like I, got business bank accounts. I got my LLC and I did things differently, but I never had a mentor. And so I'm still learning and things like that. And I've taken a lot of losses behind closed doors. I have, like as far as funding, I funded out of my own pockets and things like that. And so I just kind of wanted to have like a space where people will know like what really goes on behind the scenes of being an actual entrepreneur besides what they see on social media and how good it looks, because you might end up spending your whole life savings or retirement savings trying to be an entrepreneur and not even knowing that it is not easy and there's a lot that comes behind it. But then I also, my podcast, I was going to interview people that were formerly incarcerated and see like, and have them talk about, the trauma behind incarceration, but how they're thriving now, because I think that it's a topic that is not talked about a lot in today's society. And I just want to spread the word more on the topic, because we do go through a lot of trauma and have different outlooks on life, and people thinking that you acting differently. And it's like, we just went through a traumatic situation, but also to let people know that just because somebody gets incarcerated and has a felony, they're not a bad person. They made a bad choice, just like we all have made poor choices in life. Some got caught, some didn't, but also we can thrive. We can, have a beautiful life outside of that. And so that's what I wanted to highlight, like have women that are thriving since are incarcerated and interview them and, try to highlight some, things that they have done. So that's what my podcast was about. Unfortunately, I've kind of put a stop to it right now, but that was what I was going for.
Right. It was a point in time when I was reaching out, trying to find women that had been incarcerated to tell their stories. But it seemed like women are ashamed of it. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, just because a person has been incarcerated, don't make them a bad person.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. I was ashamed of my story too. I ain't gonna lie. I had been ashamed for a while. I just recently started trying to be more open about it and, spreading the word, because like I said, it's a topic that not too many people want to talk about. And that's how I was at first. When I was in crime, I'm like, I'll never come. Like I would see volunteers come back that were formerly incarcerated and tell their story. And I'm like, I would never in my life come back up there and tell my story. That's what I used to say. But now that I'm getting older and like I've gone to schools and mentored young girls and stuff like that, and I just want to try to not keep allowing a repeated cycle. And I wish that I had a mentor growing up, or I wish somebody would have told me. So I want to share my story in hopes of helping somebody else not go down the path that I went through or went down.
Right. That's the same way I used to feel. I was like, I'll never come back. And I've been in there several times telling my story.
Yeah, so, it's liberating when you share your story and to others. Yeah.
Because a lot of time, like you say, people don't know what they're getting into. Just like growing up, your mom and dad, they had never been to prison, but they could tell you like, well, you don't want to do this because you're gonna go to jail. But they couldn't tell you don't want to do this because when you go to jail, I might die and you can't come to my funeral. Ain't nobody gonna write you no letters. You know what I'm saying? Everybody who you thought your friends ain't gonna be there for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's my point of it is like, I'd rather teach a person from me burning my hand on the stove versus them have to burn their hand on the stove themselves.
Right. Yeah, but I mean, you can only tell people after a certain amount of time. People are gonna do what they want to do, and I mean, I was given warnings before. I felt like God was speaking to me through other people, and I didn't listen. And obviously, I had to go through that just to get through it. Sometimes we got to go through some things in life to get through it, to really see the bigger picture and to really get our mind focused and realize these things. Because who knows, if I would have never got incarcerated, I probably would still be the same person thinking that love was being down for a person, or I could have kept doing it and gotten even worse or trouble and, had kilos of trafficking kilos and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Right. Yo Swift again. She wanted to know if you was familiar with Beauty Babes. She another lady on YouTube. She interviewed people. She in Florida, and she said y'all had very similar stories. And she said she proud of you for telling your story.
Oh, well, thank you. And no, I have not heard of her. I will definitely have to check her out. Yeah.
Okay, so you said the book you was writing was like you had a story to tell. So give us like a synopsis of the book.
It starts with the beginning of my childhood life, just giving you guys a you know, giving you guys a little insight on what my upbringing was, because you know, when people or whatever hear that, you know, I've been incarcerated, they probably are thinking like, oh, well, she was already this and that. Like they may have a certain perception of who I am. But like I mentioned, you know, I grew up from Centerville in the suburbs, and I wasn't like that. I was raised in a church. You know, it was a strict household. Like I said, we wasn't even when my mom was going to work, we wasn't allowed outside, wasn't allowed to have company in the house. And then when she came home from work, we could go outside for a little bit. But once the street lights came on, had to be in the house. If the street lights was on and you wasn't in the house, we were in trouble. So it starts out with telling you about my upbringing. And a part of the reason why I feel like I was so codependent on men was because growing up, like when my mom and dad got divorced, I felt like my dad didn't really like care for me. And I had always longed for like that fatherly love, and it wasn't there. It was like whenever I got in trouble, my dad would always scream at me and like put his hands on me, or you know, and I seek love in all the wrong places and different relationships. Same thing, doing whatever, anything and everything they asked me to do just to keep that relationship, you know. And so that's where it started, and that's the beginning of the destruction of my life, and that's the beginning part of the book.
Right. Centerville is, and people think people that get incarcerated always think you got to come from the hood, or
Right. Nope.
trouble hit anywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's true. Oops.
So when can we be expecting the book?
Like I mentioned, hopefully within the end of this year or next year. I am having someone in the process of editing the book. And I did the book to where I left off on the part once I got after my incarceration, because I want to come out with a number 2 of the book, like a sequel or whatever, and tell about how my life is now and like how I'm thriving. But I feel like I'm not doing that much now in my life. I mean, I do have a baking business, but I feel like I could be doing more. And so yeah, so I want book number 2 to come out and to follow up and just let people know, because you know it's good to tell about the struggle and all of that, but I want people to give people hope as well, like a book number 2 where I'm telling them about how I overcame, you know.
Right.
So
anybody trying to or wanting to get into the baking business, what advice would you give them?
I would just tell them invest in your business. You know, if somebody is trying to become a baker, you know, take classes, watch YouTube videos, but also like, even, you know, YouTube videos are good, but at the same time, it doesn't give you that hands-on feel. And I'm self-taught, like I'm a visual person. So if I see something being done, I generally can do it. But at the same time, like if you want to be really like sharp with it, you need to be doing one-on-ones with people, and just figuring out all that you need to know. Sorry, my phone is, need to put it on charger. Figuring out all there is that you need to know about, you know, being an entrepreneur, and you know, just studying up on that, doing your research, and yeah.
That's what's up. And if anybody want to get any custom sweets made or custom desserts, how can they reach you?
So our Instagram, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, as well as TikTok. And it's, you know, Dvine Sweets, as I mentioned, it's DVINE Sweets. I'm sure if you look that up, you will find us on there. And it's purple and gold. I'm a big Laker fan, Kobe fan. So the D for my kids and the purple and gold for the Lakers. Well, mainly Kobe, but so yes, Dvine Sweets.
That's what's up. I also put the link to the
Dvine
Sweets Instagram page. It's in the description of this YouTube video as well.
Thank you.
Click on there and get to it. So, is there anything else you want the people to know before we go?
No, just I don't really want to, give out too much more because, like I said, hopefully that the book will be coming out at the end of this year or next year. So I want to save a little bit for that. But I will just say, if you have a talent or a gift, God-given gift, go after it. There is nothing like it's scary to enter the unknown, but what's also scary is being stuck in the same situation years and years, never knowing how successful or how good life can get, if you don't apply yourself. And I feel like, if God is for you, then you're good. A lot of times we stuck in the same situation because we're scared of something new and we're comfortable with where we're at. But you got to get out of your comfort zone and you got to go after the life that you desire, because like it says in the Bible, like God calls us to have an abundant life. And if you are so scared and fearful of everything, and the news is always making us fearful of these different diseases and different things that are coming in life, like stop living in fear and just going after your dreams and doing what you love instead of doing something that you hate just because you think you got to do it. So that's what I would tell people. And stay tuned. There's more to come.
Right. That's what's up. Like I said, I put the link to the Dvine Sweets Instagram page in the description of this video. I appreciate you for coming through and telling your story.
Thank you for having me.
I wish you luck on the book and on the storefront. And just stay in touch. Let me know when the book drop, and we're gonna share it and we're gonna promote it.
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless.
Okay. Thanks.
Uh-huh.
That right there was the owner of Dvine Sweets. Go through and check them out. Like I said, the link to the Instagram page is in the description of this video. Stay tuned. What's the day? Tuesday. I got an artist coming up Thursday, but also I want everybody. I got an artist I'm working with right now named Gallardo. Go through my Instagram page or my Facebook page and check out that new video. We about to turn it up. I had always said if I found an artist with the right work ethic, we was gonna make something happen. I found him. So I'm working with an artist right now. His name is Gallardo. I'm gonna have him on the show, I believe Tuesday, May the 9th at 9 p.m. Come through and check it out, man. I thank everybody for the support. We got a lot of things about to be coming up. It's just kind of slow, y'all. Just bear with me because I only can do so much myself, and I'm pretty much doing everything. A lot of the things I'm waiting for other people to take care of on their end. But as soon as it come through, man, we turning up. Follow me on all social media platforms at Hankin TV. Share this video. Hit the like button. And it's time for us to turn up. It's about to be the summertime. About to get outside. We got some good content coming. I got some events I'm gonna be hitting up. So it's definitely gonna be going down. If you got anybody, artists, business owners, rappers, singers, dancers, they got a brand or a business or anything they're trying to get promoted or get out there, tell them to hit me up. Stay tuned. Be through here Thursday at 9 p.m. I got another artist named A Jizzle. I believe he's either from Dayton or Columbus. He's dope, and he's also a chef. So I'm gonna have him on Thursday at 9. Thanks for tuning in. I'm gonna holler at you.